right.
Hi.
So, Zach Schneider, is that how you pronounce it?
Schneider, yes.
Schneider, awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So, Zach, welcome to the Cyclists of Chicago podcast. I think this is going to be
I'm excited.
the very first episode, if it's good enough, right?
I'm honored. I would be honored to be
I
your
think
first guest.
If it doesn't pan out well, we might have to say that the first one's going to be whatever the next one is, or I might be discouraged and not do anything anymore. But just a little background on this, and I think you have or know a little bit about this, but Cyclists of Chicago was something that I came up when I came to the city, because I think it comes from the idea that people think cyclists are a certain group of people that have certain things in common, and it's usually that they think there's more in common than there is in actuality. And I think I know this because I'm a cyclist. I've been a cyclist for a long time, and I've met a lot of cyclists that I do not have anything in common with, right? And a lot of them we meet at every light on our commute home or wherever, even at the trail, even wherever you find people that are not the same. So essentially, there's an interesting aspect about this, right? There's all types of cyclists. There's all types of cyclists in this city. So I was curious, and I wanted to start doing like a Humans of New York photography thing, where I just stop people and say, hey, may I take a picture and get a few insights from you, and try to see or try to portray kind of some of the differences between people that cycle in Chicago. And I think the thesis of it all is that cyclists are not cyclists. There's just regular people that happen to cycle, right?
Yeah.
And I think you, when I came to the city 2 years ago, were one of my very first, you and a bunch of others from the Chainlink cycling friends, and maybe some people at the trails. So I thought it might be appropriate to get you on here as one of the first guests.
Yeah.
And
No, I
maybe
appreciate
do
it.
a pilot thing here.
No, I remember when I first saw you in, I think it was the Facebook group for Payless, and you did this video going there on the Orange Line. I'm like, this guy is amazing. I want to be friends with this guy. And and then you became an ambassador for the Chainlink, and I was on the team, and then it was downhill, quote unquote. Since then.
Yeah, that was very fun, and I still do it. I think it's like an hour commute, like an hour and a half commute to get out to the trails. But it's good to listen to podcasts. It's good to just like chill. It's been 2 years since I moved to the city. It's been 2 years since I've had a car, and I don't miss it. I hate being in traffic. I hate like the responsibility that comes with it. So I don't mind like somebody else is driving. I'm just chilling, and I'm getting to the trails. So that's pretty cool. I think one major thing that comes up to me when I thought about you for the podcast is you just got hit by a car very recently.
I got hit by 2 cars.
Oh, shit. Okay. Please elaborate. How did that go?
So I've been a cyclist for many years. I've done this commute probably over 5,000, 10,000 miles over the timeline of 3 or 4 years. I was.
So what's the commute from where to where?
So I live
take?
on the north side. I've taken Elston, I've taken Clybourne, I've taken Lincoln, I've done LSD, you name it, I've done it. One year I wanted to do a different route every time I went to work, and I work in Lincoln Park now, so I don't work in the loop. So my commute is cut from from like 10 miles to 5 miles or so. So I was actually on my way to Rafa, and I was biking down Elston.
Okay.
Elston's pretty safe. They just redid the construction over there. And I was going southbound. It was backed up traffic at Elston and Logan at the light. A woman made a left turn, and
left turn towards you, right?
A left turn. So I was on Elston. I was on Elston, and she made a left turn on Elston to Sherbert.
Okay.
So which is just 1 block south of Logan, and backed up traffic. She didn't see me, and I hit the car, and flew over the top of the car, and ambulance came, took me to the hospital, got knocked unconscious, cracked my helmet.
Oh, wow. So you immediately got knocked down unconscious after you flew over
I don't
the
know if you
car.
saw
That's
the actual helmet, but there's a nice little crack down the side of the helmet where I got hit. And lessons learned, I just tried to I reevaluate what I could have done differently, what she could have done differently.
So you didn't have the opportunity to be angry at her at any point because you were immediately out.
I was out. I was in the back of the ambulance, and they gave me her ID, and I took a photo of it.
But you do recall the moments before this happened, right?
Yeah, I saw
idiot.
her pull out right in front of me, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna hurt."
Yeah.
And I literally had milliseconds of reaction time, and I woke up, and the first person I called, besides my ICE contact, was Mike Keating. And I don't know if you're familiar with Mike Keating at all.
I do not. I'm not.
Mike Keating is a lawyer for Illinois Bicycles.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you know the tattoo on my leg.
Yeah, and I love that the logo, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually got that tattoo before I knew who he was. I met him at the Rite of Silence. I was like, "Hey, I just want to let you know I got this tattoo, not knowing. Don't sue me." But
It's
yeah,
copyrighted,
so I still have shoulder pain from that accident, and it didn't discourage me. My bike, unfortunately, was completely damaged. There was the aluminum frame; it was bent. Aluminum frames and bend, and like any type of dent in the frame is compromised. Unfortunately, that was one of my race bikes, so I was sad to see that go. The bike was worth a little over $2,000.
Yeah, and I think the reason I bring this up, it's because I think also it might be worth to give a little bit of background in terms of why I think also this podcast makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So as you know, Zach, I'm not from Chicago. I'm not from the States. I'm from Mexico. I'm here on a work visa. I do finance consulting. So I do feel still as an outsider here, and I do feel like I'm not a tourist per se, but somebody that's looking like out and towards the inside, right? As somebody not from here. And I've been hit by a car too. I think all cyclists have. And I remember when I was hit, I was like, my first immediate response was like, okay, that's it. Like I'd always think like, just based on statistics, like it's gonna happen eventually. I rode like maybe five times or 6 times a week, and I was like, statistically, it's gotta happen sometime. I was obviously very, very, very angry when it happened. It was totally the driver's fault.
Yeah.
But the outcome of it was something very expected in Mexico, which was, what the hell are you doing as a cyclist? I mean, this is not a city that's made for cyclists. This isn't Amsterdam. This isn't the United States, man. This is Mexico. We don't ride bikes here, right? That was, I was very pissed off about that. But when I came here, I mean, we in other countries have very like high expectations of the U.S. And I think when I came here, I was delighted, and I'm still am. I think it's a very safe city. Drivers are generally looking out for cyclists, which doesn't happen in other countries.
Yeah.
But I know there's still some sort of not necessarily outrage, but there's cyclists do feel a little bit unsafe here.
Yeah.
So is that something that you feel is happening here? Do you feel like drivers are out of control or anything like that?
No, I can't say drivers are out of control. I am a driver. I don't own a car, but I do drive in the city. And no, I do feel safe and unsafe at certain times, but it's just like driving a car. You have to know you have to be a defensive driver as well as a defensive cyclist. And you know, if you see something blocking you, you know, make do the common gesture and, you know, put your arm out, check over your shoulder, just as you would expect a car to check their mirrors before, you know, avoiding said accidents?
For me, I think the biggest issue here is that
Running red lights?
no, no, not at all. Well, I do stop at red lights. I would love to say because I'm such a responsible cyclist, but it's more because I like to catch my breath. I'm not in a hurry. I'm a slow, like I commute slowly to work. I'm not in a hurry to get there.
Everyone's in a hurry, and that's like if you go to Colorado, there's no one's in a hurry. They're just happy.
No, I totally agree with you. I don't know what's wrong with the city, but even like on a Sunday, sometimes you go into the subway, you go into the park or whatever, and somebody's right behind you, like trying to get past.
They're on their way to church. They're like, I need to get to church right now.
But I think my point was not that. I know that drivers hate that, but I think one element of driving is that when you're on the car, you don't feel the weight of the car. You don't feel the magnitude of what you are doing at the time. It's air conditioned. You're in there sealed. You don't hear the noises. You don't hear anything. So it's easy to just turn the wheel and go in somewhere, and then you feel it when you hit something.
Yes.
It feels like, oh my God. And I'm also a driver, and I've crashed before. So I know it's that feeling where, oh my God, like big, like even if you're parking and you feel when you hit something, like it feels like heavy. And I think drivers in general will say, all right, users of the road are all equal, but in my opinion, they're not. If you are flying a Boeing 707, it's very different than if you're out in a Cessna, right? And I think the weight difference might be even larger compared to a car. So you need different types of credentials, and you certainly need to be more responsible when you're riding. So I understand that cyclists may be a little bit sometimes irresponsible, but the weight of the responsibility, I think a lot of people, well, drivers will hate this, and I hope to have someday a driver right here in this podcast.
Oh, we should get an Uber driver.
Oh, that'd be interesting. But I think
they're actually
the weight
sued right now in Chicago.
The weight of the responsibility should fall on the users that have a significantly higher consequence vehicle that they're using, right? And if you're wanting us to pay tax, if you're wanting us to have a license to ride a bike, then it should be proportional, right? So it's got to be several levels lower of magnitude of how much you need to either pay or actually go through to get that, because it shouldn't be on you. I mean, you could run over somebody, but the consequences are way less significant. And even and I think it's very evident when you hit a parked car, right? What happens? It's not a big deal.
No. Now, that being said, I know cyclists that also have cars and licenses, and they pay Chicago like insurance and city stickers and all that stuff. You know, so are they going to be double charged now? Like, that's sort of unjust. Sort of like, you know, would a motorcycle have to pay a different, like, because they still have to pay the tags and stuff as well as a car. But yeah, when you were saying with drivers not being aware of their abilities, like when you swing open a door. So that was my next accident. I got doored recently. Literally 30 days.
So these are two separate incidents. I didn't get that.
Yeah. So I got a left cross in October, and then I got a door to my bike on Clybourne, which was 30 days prior. And like she opened the door, just swung it out, and literally I didn't get the inside of the door. I actually got pushed into oncoming traffic, and that's where I dislocated my
your finger, right?
Yeah,
that's okay. So I didn't get that those were two different situations right there.
And I broke two bikes. I actually broke over $5,000 worth of bicycles.
No, but so walk me through that other incident. What happened?
So I was going to work, and I was back on my bike. I was on my different bike. This was my cross bike, my cyclocross bike. Yeah. And you know, I recently did an estimate of the market retail value of that bike because I was trying to get insurance, and I was doing some investigations, and that bike was worth over $3,000.
Oh God. Okay.
And I was biking down Clybourne. She saw the first cyclist in front of me, but didn't see the second, which was me. Swung the door open, and it pushed me like out, and it actually the door dented the bottom tube of my frame, and like that bike is no longer, it's scrap metal in a sense. So, well, not in a sense, it is scrap metal.
Yeah, you can't repair that stuff. No. And so what was the aftermath like then and there with that person? I got thrown from the bike. My adrenaline was high.
I looked at, like, I was like freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh. I look at my hand, and you saw what my finger looked like.
Yep.
And if you wanted to throw in like a little screenshot of what my finger looked like in the podcast, that's fine.
I will certainly do that. Yeah, we'll put a disclaimer there.
Yeah. I could give you the X-ray too if you wanted. But no, I was like, I'm a programmer by trade, and my fingers is what puts food on my table. I was furious. And she locked herself in the car, waited for the cops to show up. Ambulance went, and I went to Northwestern shortly after. They, pulled my finger, sent me on my way, set up, therapy and all this for rehabilitation to my finger. I called Mike Keating again because.
What happens immediately after? I mean, is the police called?
So the first thing to do,
called?
What people don't know that I've noticed is you treat a bike accident as if it's a car accident. You exchange information. You get a police report, because if you don't, it's like it never happened. So that's very important.
So what does a police report say? Does it say? It only says what happened. It doesn't assign any party that's guilty for whatever happened.
You'd have to talk to a cop on that one. I don't know exactly. Like,
so when
I got
that
a whole
happened
police
to you,
report.
You didn't wait for the.
No, I waited for the cops to show up. The cops were the first ones to show up.
Okay.
Then the firemen showed up, and then the ambulance showed up.
Oh wow. Okay.
And then I got in the back of the ambulance, and they took me downtown to Northwestern, and I missed another day of work.
Shit. Okay. Yeah. So and that I think kind of goes into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is. So here's a cyclist that got doored. That could be anybody right there. So who is Zach? What do you do for a living? I mean, you're not a cyclist for a living, right? We all wish we were.
I wish I was, but no.
We're all trying to get there, though. Different ways, but we'll see. So what do you do for a living? You said you're a programmer.
I'm a web programmer. I work for a company that creates web-based applications for high school students and college coaches.
So like learning programs, is that what you're doing?
It helps scouting for high school athletes to find college scholarships and college coaches to find high school athletes to bring them into their college.
Oh, wow. Interesting. So that's what you've been doing for a while now? Is that what you...
I started there, it'll be 2 years in March.
2 years in March.
I've been writing code since the late 90s.
Wow. So when it wasn't that cool.
Yeah, like I used to write Flash applications.
I think people now, like, they want to get their kids coding when they're, like, in elementary school.
I have a daughter that's 10 years old, and I try to get her to learn Python. So
It's a thing, right?
Yeah.
But now it is. It didn't used to be. Is that something you did in college? Did you do...
College, I did AV. I was audiovisual.
What's AV? Oh, audiovisual.
Yeah.
And you were calling me the videographer? What's audiovisual? Is there anything like...
I did multimedia-based application development where
okay,
Flash
so still
and Director,
programming, right?
In a sense, yeah.
Well,
like Photoshop and Illustrator. Like I was really good with the visual aspect of things.
Oh, got it. Okay, so you don't do any of that anymore.
I do more front end web based applications instead of the back end. So,
Okay.
but I can switch between both. So.
And you did say before we got on this podcast, do what you love is kind of your philosophy.
No, yeah, I
So
do. I do what I love, and I love what I do.
So that's programming.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
but I'm
You get in
beginning
the
to
zone
love
like the Facebook, the social media movie where they're like, oh my god, it's
Facebook's a whole nother can of worms.
No, sure, no. But that, I think for us, they're not, or for me, I'm not going to say us because I'm a weird individual. And I don't know a lot about programming. And what I do know is sometimes what's portrayed in Hollywood. And I do remember that Social Media movie where it showed these guys programming. Yeah,
and they're not, like, that's made for Hollywood.
Right, but they get like in the zone or whatever, and they're like programming and like don't.
If you want to see what hacking actually looks like, you'll be very bored.
Well, I saw the movie Hackers.
Yeah, it's nothing like that.
I'm kidding. No, that was like 3D stuff. Like that was very funny how it's not like that at all. But you do. So you love programming more than you do cycling?
No, I have loved biking since I was a young lad. Like I actually waited to get my license till I was like 17 because I just biked everywhere in Indiana. And this is before bike lanes was a thing. So yeah.
So you're from Indiana? Is that the thing?
Yes, I'm originally from Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Fort Wayne? Where is that?
It's northeast Indiana.
Northeast Indiana, so far away from Brown County, because everybody tells me I got to go there.
I don't know Brown County.
You don't know Brown County?
I don't
It's supposed
know
to be
Brown
like the mountain bike, the place to go for mountain biking, and you're from Indiana, and I'm not from Indiana.
I'm the worst. It's fine. I know Keystone.
Well, Keystone's in Colorado.
No, not Keystone. What's the one in Wisconsin?
Oh, that's Copper. No,
it's not Copper.
Is it not? It's
All right, pull out your phones. Let's take a look and Google this.
Yeah, because I brought the laptop. I didn't realize there was not going to be any internet connection, and I should know this because I want to go there.
Yeah.
You're talking about the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, or Wisconsin? Oh, you're talking about Wisconsin, right? I thought for a second there. Yeah, I'm still thinking this is going to be related to the Upper Peninsula because that is Copper Harbor, isn't it? No, Wisconsin, there's nothing. Is it Marquette? Is that in Michigan even? I have no idea. Yeah, it's interesting for me that one of the weirdest aspects of what's gone through my life is that I grew up in a town that had 3,000 feet of elevation in trails, like right out of my backyard. And that's what I thought biking was. I thought biking was going up hills and going downhill. I thought that this was kind of the way that people did this.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I moved away that I was like, oh my God. Like I thought the best place to be would be some sort of surfing town and that kind of stuff. But when I moved away to North Carolina to do my master's degree. That's when I got to the States 4 years ago, actually. And it was significantly more flat than Mexico, than my hometown. And I was like, okay, I think I didn't appreciate what I had when I had it. So then I moved to Illinois, which I just recently learned is the second flattest state in the country, even flatter than Kansas.
Yeah, no, you're right. And Kansas really isn't that flat.
Right. I mean, people think this. And I think the first is Florida, which is another place I spent 7 months doing an internship. But they do have mountain biking there, and they do have mountain biking here, which is awesome. I think bikers find a way. Like, I mean, in theory, too, you'd want kind of elevation to do road biking or to do cross, which is one thing you do.
Yeah, cyclocross. State championships is this Sunday at Montrose.
So state championships.
Fortunately, I'm on the injured list, so I'm not racing.
Where's the rest of the? Is it all kind of Chicago?
It's all around Chicago. It's like as far as Woodstock and as close as Montrose.
So here's the thing I don't like about it. Well, okay, I spoke too early there. I don't mind cyclocross. I don't mind any form of cycling. I think they're great. I'd rather do whatever.
Yeah.
But what I don't get is I want to get on a bike, but it seems like in cyclocross it's just ways to get off the bike and then back on the bike again.
Now, if you have a full suspension mountain bike, I understand where you get from this.
You're going to be really slow if you do that, right?
Well, yeah, if you're going to try to get off that bike, but you can bunny hop these barriers.
And some people do, right?
As do I, yes.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so you don't get off the bike.
Yeah, I can, but I also, like, there's other situations where you don't get off the bike.
Well, going up is also when people sometimes get off the bike.
Yeah, well, I'm also running single speed.
Okay.
So I actually don't have any gears. So I choose my best gearing, which this season was 1838
Okay.
gear ratio. It's almost a 2-to-1. And I actually was going up hills at Dan Ryan Woods.
Got it. Yes. Okay. So very, very valid point. If you're running a single speed, there's obviously going to be a point where the incline is too much. I don't care who you are. That is true. I think, and that's what I've realized, that my approach to biking is flawed. So I started biking as a kid because I just wanted to kind of get away and like
I did the same thing with BMX.
And then I went into the trails and I was like, oh, this is the thing. And then I got a mountain bike, and the thing is, the mountain bike could kind of go anywhere.
Yeah,
it didn't need to. So I never wanted to get another bike because it couldn't go anywhere. So and I think that as a kid, having two bikes for yourself is like too much.
Yeah.
So the mountain bike was the one that could go anywhere. And then I was always very interested in dirt bikes, and I think that's why also like the appeal to mountain biking. Right?
Do you have a dirt bike?
I had when I was in Mexico. I competed like in enduro races, which is, I think it predates mountain biking enduro for a long time. And the interesting thing about it is that
this makes sense for your love of Fox.
Do I love Fox?
Fox racing.
Well, I do have a Fox shock, and I do have a Fox fork, and I do have Renthal bars for the bike. So I kind of
I noticed a trend.
I think that if it's good for dirt bikes, it's good for bikes. But then that's why my bike's 40 pounds.
Yeah.
But it's never broke. Well, anything that has broken, it's been replaced with something that doesn't break anymore. Yeah. But the thing is, the two things that I was really that I liked a lot were biking and the downhill aspect of biking, and dirt biking enduro, which I think the cool aspect of dirt biking enduro is going up hills. It's like technical uphills that are interesting, not the downhill portions of it. So I've always been interested in terms of biking in going up technical stuff without like getting your foot down and going down pretty gnarly stuff. So I'm biased that way.
No, I get it. Well, so when I was in Keystone, Colorado this summer, as we talked about prior to this, and I rented a road bike. Yeah. I go to Colorado and I get like an endurance. It was like a giant Defy or something like that. And I did like a 30-mile loop around the lake, which was intense at like 3,000 feet of elevation, whatever it was. And I actually, the first day I went down the descent, which I hit 45 miles an hour.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's good.
Yeah. The next day I went the other way and going up that hill, and I was like in my head, I'm like, do not put your foot down. Do not put your foot down. Don't put your foot. Yes. And I don't know what felt better, having like the ability of knowing that you could fly off the side of this mountain at 40 plus miles an hour, or making it up that side of that mountain. Like, these aren't hills. These are mountains.
Yeah.
Going up the side of this mountain and not putting a foot down. And like, I actually had to slow down going down the descent because the cars were going too slow.
Oh, wow. You were going faster than cars.
Well, which isn't the first time, but yeah.
So, well, that's certainly interesting. But I think your approach to biking and how you got into it wasn't like that, right?
No,
you
yeah.
certainly got in before. Yeah. And I think I'm getting a vibe from being here that even though whatever I want to say about cyclocrossers, it seems like they're the ones who got bored with road racing or want a little bit more and a little bit more gnarly stuff. So it seems like it's like a special kind of breed of cyclists.
So what I was told, people can correct me if I'm wrong, but cyclocross was road racers in the off season that wanted to still ride their bikes. And that's why it's a little bit roady, but not really. And mountain bikes didn't come into like later. Cyclocross has been around for 20 years.
I didn't know this. So it's probably predates mountain biking.
Yeah.
That makes sense, actually. And the thing is, bikes in general can go pretty much anywhere. So
And
if you have the skills, right?
yeah. And you'll notice a lot of cyclocross races happen here in Chicago on golf courses.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Because they're going to tear, like, it's off season for golf, and they're going to tear up this grass anyways. Why not have fun on it before they do it?
Right. Okay.
So you're going through sand pits and stuff like that.
But you certainly got into biking before cyclocross and all
Oh,
that
yeah,
stuff.
no.
So you said you started off with BMX. Was there a lot of BMX going on here in Chicago?
No, so I'm from Indiana.
Oh, right.
I moved to Chicago now too. So when I was growing up, I had like a old dyno from back in the day, and I did flatland, freestyle, BMX. We had a little bit of like dirt jumps in the trails behind, similar to. Have you been to the Garden here in Chicago?
No, that's big.
It's like the Garden but smaller.
More pump track it.
Yeah.
I mean, BMX jumps in general are more like kind of on the long side versus the.
Yeah.
The Garden's pretty intimidating because you got to go up like pretty arch.
And if you go slow, you're not gonna.
Oh no,
you're gonna hurt yourself. Yeah.
But still, I think one of the funny things about all this stuff is that as gnarly as mountain bike can seem, as gnarly as BMX or dirt jumping may seem, I think road and commuting and, well, not necessarily cyclocross, but road and commuting might be the more dangerous aspects of riding bikes. Because the consequences are huge. I've seen like people that
have you
go
been
down
have you been
road.
to crit races?
No, I haven't. But I saw this Jeremy, right? He uploaded a video of these. I think it was this crit race that you were not supposed to have brakes on.
Oh, the Red Hook.
That's fucking crazy.
So it's a fixed gear race in New York, Red Hook, and it's fixed gear, so no brakes. If you want to stop, you just stop pedaling.
Yeah, I don't see that. So so how does that work? It's if you stop pedaling. So there's two, and I mean I should know this, but there's fixed gear and then there's single speed. Fixed gear, a single speed bike still has a free hub, which if you stop pedaling keeps going, right? But the single speed, the wheel doesn't keep going if you stop.
So. You're sort of right. No, so single speed, a fixed gear is single speed, but single speed isn't necessarily always fixed gear.
Right.
So yes, a fixed gear is a fixed hub. So if you pedal backwards, you will go backwards.
You will go backwards.
You pedal forward,
so
you will go forward.
Is this what you ride?
I used to before I wrecked the bike.
Right.
I took it down to Northbrook or up to Northbrook to the track. There's a velodrome.
And is this what they ride on crit races?
No, not necessarily.
Oh, okay, got it.
Fixed crit races, but no, some crit races they'll ride like a specialized delays, like a road
No, but
bike.
I mean this race Jeremy
the Red
was
Hook,
on.
yes.
So you have to. Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
So but then you can't really stop if you just stop pedaling because the momentum's too high.
So what
right?
you do is you you lock your feet and you like slam backwards. So like, do you ever have like a coaster brake as a kid?
Yeah, but I think isn't that different because
it is different.
You have a brake.
Well, yeah, it's your coaster brake, but no, it's similar in the instance where you stop your feet and you skid backwards and you lock up the back wheel and you skid out.
Got it. That's pretty impressive.
The hardest part, I think.
So you've done one of these?
No, no, I'm too old for that. I have kids now. But no, if you go into like a corner and you're going tight, like you can't stop pedaling. So if you scrape your pedal, you'll be scraping your pedal against the street, depending on how low you go on that turn.
Yeah, you're right, because you couldn't.
You gotta time it just right.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. You wouldn't be able to.
Because you're familiar with motocross, where you stick out the banana knee.
The banana knee, is that what they call it?
Whatever. Someone told me it's like something like that. But it's like you put your knee out, and you go into the corner.
Flat out, foot out.
That as well, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's for balance, though.
And you can't do that on a fixed gear. Like, you don't remove your feet from the pedals.
Yeah, because otherwise it just spins out, and then you can't get back on them.
You would eventually, but yeah.
Do people use clits on that?
They use cleats or straps.
Straps? Is that a thing?
Nope.
I thought that was like for newbie mountain bike, or I mean, in general, bikers that
No,
you use kind of.
not cages, straps.
Oh, okay. So what?
It's just like Velcro straps that go around your feet,
Oh, wow. That's pretty interesting.
so that way you can have flat pedals.
So in this world, that's like the baddest. Like, you're really badass if you do that stuff.
I think you're a badass if you can go down the side of a mountain at 50 plus miles an hour
Yeah, but
on a full suspension
you
mountain
hit
bike.
dirt, which is way more. I don't know if way more, but it is more
You can hit rock.
forgiving than and even rock. I've gone down on pavement. It's
Have you
brutal.
seen, like, people are now doing downhill snow mountain biking?
Well, yeah, I tried that in Palos in the little spots that I could. Did you see that video?
I did not.
You did not see that
I'll have
video?
to check it out.
So I did the very same video. I put a little bit more effort into it, and I just tried to do like what it is to go out snow riding in Palos in the winter, which is okay, but there's not enough. You're right. There's not enough incline to do like a big downhill.
Yeah.
Although I found a little.
I'm talking about like Utah.
Oh, is that? Did you share one of
Yeah.
those videos?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty gnarly, which
Yeah.
makes me even doubt more the fat bike trend, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I think moving on from this, you said you still haven't got to how you got into biking, right?
Yeah, so I got into biking. I got my first bike. It was like a Dyno Air. It was back in the mid '90s, and I just loved it. I washed that bike with Windex and I cleaned it and I made it my own, and like it was. I loved it. I love bikes. My dad was a big car guy. I was a big bike guy.
Well, Indiana, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of car guys there.
Yeah.
It's the Indianapolis, right?
The Indy 500.
Indy 500,
Yeah.
yeah. Is that like whole trickle from Days of Thunder kind of vibe?
In a sense,
That's
yeah.
what people from other countries
Yeah.
feel like Indiana's like.
Yeah.
Pretty cool movie, though.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No, we never got big into NASCAR, but
Okay.
yeah.
Well, my dad, oddly enough, my dad's a big car guy.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is one of the things that I argue, and I was telling my dad the other day because he was here for Thanksgiving, and I was telling him because he does drag racing, right?
Mhm.
And drag racing is one of those like high horsepower.
What does he drive?
He drives. He actually has.
Or
well,
race.
he had 3 cars at one point.
Yeah. My dad has 3 cars.
He started with a Malibu 81
Okay.
way back in the day, and he grew from that. I think his next car was a Camaro, a 68 that he
My dad has a
actually-
69 Z28.
those are awesome. This one's an SS 68 that he got actually from Grand Rapids, Michigan. That was
Wow.
my first time in Chicago way back.
Yeah.
And
It's a
we
great,
just
that's a great car.
we just were here for a couple of days. But the interesting thing about that visit is that while we were going to Grand Rapids, my dad and the mechanic that works on his car, we were all on this trip. And he saw that there was like raceway thing near the side of the highway. And he was like, oh, let's just go check it out. And there was races going on that
Mhm.
night. And the funniest thing is that I told my dad, and I told him recently, I reminded him, is that there's absolutely, if you go to a drag strip like that back in Mexico,
Mhm.
it's the same. Like, the people are doing the same thing. They're driving similar cars. They're like, they like similar things. Yet,
Mhm.
these individuals there and over there on
Mhm.
Mexico, they think they're so different. They're both into the same things. They're probably both the same religion, right?
Yeah.
But for some reason, we think that there's this like huge divide between what Mexico is, for example,
Mhm.
where I'm from, and the U.S. Whereas no, I think nowadays the world's enough global that you talk to a biker here, you talk to a biker in Mexico, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
If you go to Mexico and you watch the commuters out there,
Mhm.
or the messengers or anything, you'll
Yeah.
be like,
There was a alley cat in Mexico.
Did you see that video of that they did like a documentary
Mhm.
on it? Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I heard there was alley cat races here.
Yeah.
Did you ever partake?
No, I've never been in an alley cat. I've helped with an alley cat here in Chicago, but I never actually raced in
But
one.
what's the legality of all that stuff? Like,
It's a bike messenger thing, I believe.
But it happens under the radar. Is that the thing?
don't know the logistics behind it.
Okay.
I don't know the legalities out behind it either.
Yeah, and that's probably how it should be. I don't think it's.
If you want some messengers, I could introduce you to a few. So.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing I've always wanted, because I've heard you could do that like Uber now, where you can like just sign up somewhere and be a messenger.
Oh, really?
And I've always thought that's like the ultimate test of if
like,
you're really a biker.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that you your services are online, and there's web pages like Uber that do courier things, and then you just get a message. You need this from here to there. I've always thought that's like the ultimate biker thing you can do to prove. But I would try to do it on a mountain bike, which I thought it was stupid until recently that I saw this guy that does it on a DV. Yeah.
Seriously?
Yo, seriously. Remember that thing? There was this Divi event back in that somebody in the Chainlink shared.
Was it the triathlon?
No. There was
the guy did the Divi on a did a triathlon on a Divi.
That's pretty cool. But no, it was Divi wanted to get insights from customers. And I met the marketing person for Divi, and I follow her now on online, and she shared recently, like, she was like, oh, I saw this guy again, this guy that's a messenger, and he works out of a Divi. And I'm like, oh my God, that happens. I guess I could do it on a mountain bike.
Yeah. There's no reason you couldn't.
No, there's no reason, but I guess there's all these like unspoken rules about stuff, especially in the biking world.
Hey, as long as you got two wheels, rubber side down.
But that's not the reality of it.
Yeah, it's the realistic approach, and like when I first did cross, I didn't have a cross bike. You know what I did it on? My 26-inch mountain bike.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's pretty badass.
So.
But I've heard there's a few people. But there's few.
There's people.
There's a handful of people.
I've seen people do cross races on mountain bikes, full suspension mountain bikes. I've seen one do it on a tandem bike.
Wow. So, actually, I told Jasmine about this. I think I wanna. I'm sorry, I do the pronunciation bad. Jasmine.
Well,
you
which one?
There's
Jasmine and there's Yasmin.
I'm usually talking about Yasmin.
The president of Chainlink, or the
president? Is she still the president of Chainlink?
Yes, of course.
Good. I didn't know that.
Well, I wasn't sure if you're talking about Yasmin or you're talking about Jasmine, the
I'm
the
usually
German
talking about
triathlete.
Yasmin. That's and you correct me, and you're right.
With a Y. Yes.
With a Y, yeah. And she, what was it going to say? Oh, yeah, she. No, what?
You were talking to Yasmin about something.
See. This is why
you need a little note sheet.
Do I? I do that for work.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that here.
No, just write, like, if you have it, like, just write a note, like a timeline.
A timeline of things.
Yeah.
I think there's enough structure in my work.
We could talk for hours about bikes. So yeah.
Well, and I think the idea of this podcast is for it to be a 1 hour 1 hour show, not longer than that, and just to get insights and perhaps talk about a few things that are interesting to individuals that bike. But I come from it from my angle, and I do think we were talking about this, that there are a lot of unspoken rules. You said, and I remember what I was going to say now. I was telling Yasmin that I want to make a documentary about cross here.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be an interesting challenge for me. I've never done a proper documentary, but I think you guys are pretty nuts. And it's
you should
come
out Sunday.
Yeah, no, that's the bad thing, that the season's almost to an end, right?
The season's end this
Sunday.
Weekend, this Sunday, yeah.
But didn't I see some winter races happen last
year? There's Afterglow,
like,
which is a unofficial cross race.
But that's the cool stuff, right? With the hot tub and stuff.
No, that's Montrose.
So that's Sunday.
Yeah, it's the Sunday.
So what, are we having better weather than last year? Because wasn't it snowing or?
Yeah, they still had a hot tub last year. I was in it.
Oh, cool. But the weather was worse.
It was cold.
Colder, right?
Yeah. It's December and it's 50 degrees outside.
That's not normal, is it?
No.
Well, but it's good. I've had the mildest winter since I've come here, and people were always warning me, you're going to die in Chicago. And I probably should have, but, global warming and all that good stuff's happening.
Oh, global warming is not real. That's what our president says.
And the earth is flat, right?
Yeah, of course.
It's crazy.
By the way, I'm kidding. Do not quote me on this.
No, I think this is interesting stuff because that's the other thing. Like I've always looked up to the U.S. all my life, and then I come here, and it's all everybody's freaking out. Shit's upside down.
Yeah.
What happened?
I need another beer for this one.
No, I think no, it is interesting, but we are right now in kind of a city that's like a little bubble, right, of progressiveness and people that are. I mean, it's a large metropolitan area, which makes sense. But you come from not necessarily a large metropolitan, so you might have an insight on this. What do people think about bikers over there in Indiana if you're out there on a country road?
So growing up, I will say today, biking in Indiana, in Fort Wayne, in particular, they have bike lanes now, and they're actually more aware of cycling and safety. But when I was a kid growing up, if you saw a grown adult riding a bike, you assumed that he was an alcoholic and had a DUI, and he just doesn't have a car.
Oh my God! Okay, yeah, that's very much like Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Mexico, you would think he just doesn't have money for a car.
Yeah.
So growing up, but now it's different.
Like, they actually have they have bike lanes now and bike safety. There's a woman there right now, Jade, I believe her name is, and she's like pushing bike safety and trying to build what Active Trans here in Chicago is doing.
But I mean, there's still corners where that's a reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I even came in close contact with that because you probably heard, but I wanted to bike down to the Big Marsh.
Mm-hmm.
My very
You
first,
will love it. Have you not been there yet?
No, I have.
Okay.
Yeah. My very first experience with that was that I asked this bike shop that I was telling you about. I was like, hey, guys, well, I don't know if it was that bike shop or another one, but what they said is, do not bike down there.
I bike down there.
If you do, it's a certainty that you'll get your bike snatched. And I was like, first of all, my bike's not that
What do you mean
cool.
snatched?
Well, stolen from me.
How?
Yeah, that's a good question. But I was like, wait, that's not. That's weird because, first of all, my bike's not that. I mean, it certainly has a lot of components, but they're old enough by now.
They don't care,
and they don't know. That's the other thing. But okay, so then I was like, okay, no way. So I need to find mass transportation. That was me.
You take the red line.
I didn't think through this. I just asked people. I think people on the ground know better than you, so I did that. And then my second, I still wanted to do it afterwards, and I think I posted on the Chainlink. I was like, hey, am I going to get robbed? And some people were like, hey, you shouldn't say that. And I'm like, why? Like, I think it's important to ask, like, in everywhere.
No, I get it.
In Mexico, too, like, I could tell you where to go, where not to go.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, right? It's not a certainty that something's going to happen to you, but they told me that it's going to be really dangerous if you do so.
Mm-hmm.
So they in the Chainlink, they said, no, you're going to be perfectly fine. We bike over there. A couple of people said, yeah, we bike regularly.
I bike there with Jeremy.
But I've asked 3 people that are non-bikers since. There was one person that was installing the internet at my home the other day, and I told them, because they live past that, because this is 103rd Street on the south. And they said, what the hell? No. Like, don't do that. And this was somebody that was not a biker, and this was somebody that was from there. Like, not that from there, but she lived close enough. And I've had people at work, obviously. But, I mean, people at work I don't think are much acquainted with the south side of Chicago. When I did it, though, it was very calm. I think it was pretty cool to explore the neighborhoods. I went down Jeffrey. Is that the name of the street?
I think so, yeah.
And there's parks there. There's schools there. It was pretty awesome. So, but I didn't see bikes there.
No, that one stretch is a little sketchy.
Is it?
Well, there's no bike lane, and you got cars going 50+ miles an hour.
I didn't see those. Maybe it was because
maybe I did a different route than you.
It was a Sunday.
Yeah. Mine was on a Saturday.
No, but it's not like the one close to the lakefront. It's actually right. So I go right, and then go through a couple of neighborhoods.
Some of when I was going over the expressway.
Yeah. Oh, that's a very bad street.
Yeah.
I was on the sidewalk, but
I wasn't.
Yeah, no. Being from Mexico, like you get on the sidewalk. That's what you do. I mean, you're courteous. You're not supposed to be going too fast on the sidewalk. But I'm thinking if I'm going,
well, legally, you're not supposed to be on the sidewalk
correct.
unless you're under the age of 12.
Right. I didn't know this. Really?
Yes, you can get cited for that.
Well, in my opinion, but this is not a legality or anything. But if you're going at pedestrian speed.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not scaring anybody, and you're probably saving your life because some driver's going 50 miles an hour. Yeah, that street, that's 103rd, isn't it? Mm-hmm. That's brutal. Yeah.
That's what I was talking about. Yeah.
Oh, and going towards there, what's the name of that street? It's got a name of a person or something like that. That street, like somebody's told me somewhere, it's like, oh yeah, there's where they throw the bodies of.
No, that's urban legend. Yeah.
Oh, but it is an urban legend?
I don't know.
Okay. It's somebody came up with. Okay, cool. Yeah, it didn't seem to me like that bad. And yeah, Big Marsh is a pretty nice place. How do people regularly get there when there's races?
So people drive, people ride, or you take the red line and just take it all the way far as you can, and then just ride from there.
Cool. You've been there for the cyclocross?
Yeah, I had a race there the beginning of the season this year, and it was sponsored by, I want to say Triple X, but I'm probably wrong.
And there's been a couple of them, right?
Yeah.
Are they somewhat more interesting than the rest of them?
I would be excited if all my races were at Big Marsh. Big Marsh is a lot of fun. It's just a pain in the butt to get to.
But it's like a skills area, right? It's got a couple of wooden features and this.
And that's what I like about it.
Oh, okay. So that's not regularly at your cyclocross.
No, cyclocross is there's a lot of endurance, and like all the races are different, and you could tell what is what based off of who created that course.
Okay. So. Yeah, and they also do mountain bike races, but it's like
a Big Marsh.
Yeah, I'm used to like it's like a big playground and a big skills course, but there's not like single track proper or anything like that. And I did go to the jumps; they're okay. Yeah. Some of them are too big because you kind of need like a dirt jump bike. I'm not used to like those kind of lips, and I wish I could learn, but I think I'm too old for that stuff. I think
you're younger than me. I think you should get a.
I'm younger than you, like by a year, I think.
Yeah, I think you should get a cyclocross bike. I think you'd like it.
But I'm thinking about it a lot. I'm thinking about getting another bike in general, but I'm having a hard time just because I'm going to put money into something that could have gone into a better replacement mountain bike for me, and I can't use it anywhere else but on the city, on the road, and I can't. And I'm used to going. I know there's a legality thing
baby.
to
N
this.
+1.
Oh yeah. I know there's a legality to this thing, but I'm used to going on sidewalks. I'm used to going on downstairs and stuff like that. I'm gonna wreck a bike like that, am I?
No, I do that.
I'm heavy too. Do you?
I go downstairs on my cross bike.
On your cross bike, and it's totally fine. Yeah. The rims don't fold up like.
No, if you get good rims.
Okay. So. Moving on, and I think we're getting close to what would be the end of the podcast. I think there's a couple of things I want to touch on, and this I'm going to try to make something that happens on every podcast. And one thing is, what would be your favorite piece of gear? That's one.
My helmet.
No, but see, that's okay.
No,
certainly the more important piece of gear would be the helmet, but that doesn't necessarily have to be your favorite. Well,
and it might be the helmet's what saved me from being a vegetable when I got hit. When I got hit by the car. Yeah. But gear, what do you mean by gear? Like
anything? No. The helmet in this case, I think it makes sense. Like you've just been hit by a car. Yeah. And I think you're getting back out there, and it seems like you're not phased too much by it.
No. I did learn that gloves come in handy when you fly over your handlebars. Let's see here.
a favorite piece of gear can be anything. It can be, for me, it's many instances something that's outlasted and certainly didn't cost as much as other stuff. Because I get let down by gear all the time. The video is awesome. The promotional content for it is pretty cool. And then you're like, oh, I get it. And then it's I don't know. It breaks pretty quickly.
Let's see here. Probably, I recently got a I like working with my hands. I got my own little bike shop at home.
Cool.
And Crank Brothers actually makes a why am I drawing a blank?
Crank Brothers makes a lot of multi-tools. They
It's
make levers.
I have a multi-tool, but it's it's tire levers. So they have these little black tire levers, which has like a handle on it. And for me to get my tubeless tires off my my Zip wheels is nearly to impossible. And like these, like they work so well.
Oh,
and you can pick them up at any local bike shop for like cheap.
All right. And I think in addition to that, for the Cyclists of Chicago, the Chainlink, mainly Yasmin, came up with a questionnaire that I thought was interesting, and that's what we did for that piece. Did you ever see that kind of series of Cyclists of Chicago?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we asked people a couple of things, and I think we've gone over a few of them. But most of these were because we're meant to be on the ride, so I'm when you stop somebody while they're on the ride. So I'll do the ones that are relevant for now. And I think you've answered, what do you do for work? So you're a programmer, and I didn't really realize this about you. I thought you were somewhere in design or like marketing or that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I worked for an agency, marketing. I did work in the agency life, so yeah.
But programmers, to me, in my mind, are less kind of personable, less outgoing, and you seem to be like very personable and very outgoing.
Yeah, no, my mother says I've never met a stranger, so
that's pretty cool. Yeah, so it's interesting. There's probably a lot more like you. It's just the stereotype, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of coworkers that ride?
I have a couple. There's 3 of us that ride year round for the most part.
Did you see that picture I posted up in our Facebook group for the Chainlink?
Which one?
I posted a picture of the bike room at the building where I work.
Yes,
Did you
it's
see
empty.
that?
It was beautiful.
It's a 68-story building, and it's got this awesome bike room with like a little workbench and some tools in there, and it's got maybe maybe that in that room there's like room for 20, 30 bikes.
Yeah.
And then there's an additional room outside for like maybe another 10, 15.
Was there a shower?
No, there's not a shower, but this room's like, it's only key access and you got to pay for it. And there's a shower at the gym, so you could make that work.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
a 68-story building downtown. It's only got like 3 bikes.
Hey, if I work downtown, I'm not like my bike outside again. So.
No, then that's what they told me. So that's why I paid for this. I mean, it's not a huge amount. It's just like an annual fee, a small annual fee. But I was like, I'm not supposed to leave my bike outside. And my idea was to buy like a shit bike and just ride that to work. But I think for us bikers, it's hard. Like you start looking into bikes.
When I picked up my bike from Tailwind Cycles the other night, I was told, Steve, I'm like, yeah, I was really thinking about buying like a Commuter for like $100, $200, but my taste is just so expensive.
Right. And then you start getting into stuff that, of course, they'll be wanting to steal.
Of course.
All right, continuing on the questionnaire. Here's a question that might be more relevant now. That you're more mature and not a kid anymore. But why ride? I mean, there's a lot of reasons not to.
Yeah. Well, I ride to. I enjoy riding. I enjoy the exercise it gives me. I enjoy the experience, the people that I meet. I feel like whenever I take the CTA, which I had to do recently, I feel like I get sick. People are like, like you're crunched in like sardines in a can.
So you've hated those last couple of weeks that you've
It's
had
miserable.
to not ride.
Like I had bikers I was just bumming out. I was like, oh, I just want to ride my bike. And I did a 20-mile ride this morning, and like
That's pretty cool.
like I was like, man, I'm out of shape now, and like I was off a bike for 2 weeks. So
Yeah, I need to get back on because it's hard for me to find motivation to take this 40-pound downhill bike out into the street.
You ever considered indoor training?
No, fuck that. Why would I? Like, I don't mind the cold. Like, I would.
Yeah.
You're joking, right? You were joking. That was a joke. Okay, good. No. I just need to get out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to just forget about what people think or whatever, and just ride my bike. Because
the key thing about riding year round is knowing how to dress in layers.
I think I've learned that, and I've also learned kind of that you're always going to be either cold or hot. It's hard to find that middle ground, and the next day is going to change, and wind chill is going to change, and it's rough.
Yeah, you're going with the wind, against the wind. Yeah.
My best friend has been, especially now that especially since my rides have been like getting on the CTA, getting on the pace bus, and then out to the trails, and then it's like, I don't know in Fahrenheit, but it's been like 10 or less when I've been out there and it's snowing or whatnot, and you messed up in some sort of thing and your hands are cold or your feet are cold, and I've learned to carry the warmers, the chemical warmers. That's like that's a key. That's probably my favorite piece of gear for the winter.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's like, okay, I'm scared of going out because I don't know if I'm dressed correctly, and these things will be the ones that are like, okay, if you are, you'll be cool, because then your hands you won't get frostbite or whatever. Yeah. And I've had like I
have like waterproof boots or something.
Yeah, I do. Somebody recommended the plastic bag, and I've done that.
Yeah, that's okay. I actually have a pair of specialized boots.
They're waterproof.
They're waterproof, yeah.
Yeah, I figure I need to ride more in I ride through the winter, but I don't ride a lot in the winter, so I need to.
Well, you don't have. Do you wear cleats on your shoes?
Yeah, and that's a huge issue because water sips through there sometimes. That's why the plastic bag works for me. Right. I wear 510s cleat shoes that are basically for downhill biking. All right, next question: favorite place to ride?
Oh, in the city? Let's see here. I recently, my friend Bailey recommended this. I went to go test ride a bike. It was a specialized Cosmic Stallion. He's like, "You want to put this to the test?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, I want to do more than just ride this bike around the block to see if I like it. He gave me a little trail, told me to cut through here, and it's a little off the beaten path, as they would say. And it's out in West Town area.
Okay, interesting.
And it's near the tracks.
So this is off-road?
A little bit, yeah. A little bit of gravel. A little bit of gravel.
A little bit of gravel. And what's this bike? Specialized Cosmic what?
The specialized. It's a All-City Cosmic Stallion. It's a All-City's latest gravel.
Okay,
bike.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So that's interesting. One hidden spot in the city.
Yeah,
he's becoming your favorite. Have you done that again?
I will when it warms up. I'm actually about to sign up when I get home for Barry-Roubaix. To do a 62-mile gravel race in April.
Next question.
Yes.
Well, that's a big gravel ride.
Well, I did Apple Cider Century, which is 100 miles.
Yeah, but when I think gravel, I think this like very loose kind of surface that
Oh,
you
it's hilly,
pedal
too.
and it doesn't move. The bike doesn't.
Yeah.
Is that kind of gravel, or is it hard packed gravel? That
Depends
you
on the
find?
weather.
Okay, that
No,
must suck.
I've never like Barrier Bay last year. I did it, and it was my first and only DNF my entire life.
God. Okay, and I think, I've heard several people that happens.
I went
because
into
of weather.
hypothermia afterwards, so yeah.
That's brutal. Wow.
Yeah.
And no jumps, no downhills, no nothing. You're
Well,
just out there for the suffering. That's pretty cool.
Just pain and suffering. It was raining too.
Anything interesting that happened to you when riding? So we talked about two things. Doored.
Yeah, I got doored.
Let's talk about a positive thing. A really
Positive
interesting,
thing.
awesome thing that's happened to you by biking.
A lot of positive things happen. I meet new people.
No, let's talk about one big one.
One big thing that happened. Let's see here.
And that's in whenever since you've started biking.
Biggest thing is I guess it's been a lot of friends. Like everywhere I go, I see somebody. Like I did a ride this morning. I did a 20-mile ride this morning. I get up at a stop sign and I see this person crossing the street. Like, hey, Zach. I'm like, oh, hey. And then I finish the ride and I'm getting coffee and someone walks in like, hey, Zach, how you doing? I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, it's a small world. It's ridiculous. But one of the biggest experiences I've had that was positive, that I love to see is I hate waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, but when I get up and I look at that sunrise at 6:30 up by the lake, and you see the glassy water and the orange sky illuminating, oh my gosh! I could post a photo on Instagram all day. It means nothing unless you're actually there and seeing it.
But that's after you've gone out, right? It's that.
That's actually mid, but yeah.
No, I mean, but you've gotta get out there.
Yeah, get out there
brutal,
first.
Man, I have an issue with getting out there.
You actually have to grow out of bed.
Yeah, that early. And I have to sometimes when I want to get out to the trails.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because you know how it works right now with the trails? It's like the freeze thaw.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually looking forward to freezing temperatures.
Yeah.
And I think I'm gonna.
You use Camber, right?
Yeah, I use Camber all the time.
Yeah, to see if it's
but
green.
I use more the Facebook because that's where people are
Oh, really?
updating more.
Oh, I use their website. It has the red light, green light.
Yeah, but sometimes they don't
update it
in time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it recently happened that I don't know what happened. There's a lot of drama out there. It's funny, but there was a lot of people that used to update that, and for some reason now they've cut it back. Maybe because some people didn't like the official updates from some others. So now you only get updates from a couple of people, and they're not necessarily when you want them. So you go on what I want. I'm more of I don't necessarily want to go by the absolute set in stone rules. I'd much rather not do something that people are going to be pissed about. So generally, if you go on the chat on the Facebook group, the people will tell you no, I think it's good, or I was there this morning and it's pretty okay. Because I think you gotta make those trail closures distinctions for people that don't know a lot. So they might not know to avoid certain sections, right? And
some people don't even know where sections are.
Right. So and it's pretty. It took me a while. It's not that easy over there in Palos, and we got to go out there sometime.
Yeah. No,
do you have your mountain bike with you?
No, I sold it.
So you don't have any.
I sold my mountain bike. I'll take my cross bike out there.
So you're that committed about not going off-road?
I bought the mountain bike and I went to Palos 3 times last year.
And you didn't like it that much?
No, I liked it. I just couldn't. I couldn't justify. I had to.
And it's ways out there.
Yeah.
No, that makes total sense. That's why I'm hesitant to buy a new bike.
I sold it to a gentleman that lives near Palos that he wanted to ride with his son.
Oh,
that's
cool.
I was like, all right.
So this goes into, I'm going to deviate from because we're running out of time, and I'm going to deviate from the questionnaire. And I think this is more of a personal question that's going to be useful for me. You have a daughter. I have a 2-month-old daughter right now. So how's I've seen you teach her biking. How's any
I,
tips?
this summer I got her comfortable riding on Lawrence, riding in the streets in the bike lane.
That's got to be a challenge.
Oh, it wasn't easy.
I've tried to get my wife biking, and she's almost hit me.
Yeah.
Like she hates.
Small steps, and then like I would start off with a push bike.
Right at the beginning, that I totally agree.
And go from push bike to no training wheels. Like,
oh my god!
Like just skip over training wheels together and just work with a balance bike.
Just got this image in my head. I hadn't thought about that. So my daughter was born here.
Yes.
She's a Chicagoan.
She's beautiful. She's beautiful.
She's a Chicago. You're gonna meet her right now.
All right.
She's a Chicagoan.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Is she gonna be like a cyclocrosser or a roadier?
She could be.
Oh my god. My wife was telling me about all this stuff, like when she starts dating and stuff, and I hadn't thought
my
about
daughter's 10
when she wants
boy
to
crazy.
get it. I think I'm more afraid of when she starts asking me about a road bike.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be like, oh my god, let's sit down. Let me talk you through this. Let's reconsider.
Okay, yeah.
No, I'm kidding. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
No, so any challenges that have arisen out of that?
Yeah.
She's liked it. She loves it.
Yeah, she liked it. Yeah, she actually wanted to race cross this year. I was like, let's do a few practice laps first.
Okay, that's a major
thing. Once she can actually do a whole lap without getting tired, we'll consider it.
But that's certainly a good thing. She wants to get more involved.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you see her becoming a part of the sport?
Yeah. No, I can see her coming apart.
And that's all on you.
And I asked her, I was like, what do you want for Christmas? She's like, I want a skateboard. I'm like, all right.
That's pretty cool, too.
I'm like, all right. I will challenge you. I took her to the skate shop here in Chicago. And I was like, we went down and got on the skate. I threw out 4 different skateboards. I was like, all right. So I explained, like, what each skateboard, because I used to be a skateboarder. Okay. Back in, like, way back in the day, before I was into bikes. And I was like, I told her all the different skateboards, and she got on the skateboards, and she crushed it. I'm like, you actually have some pretty good balance. All right.
But you were gonna challenge her to what? You thought it was gonna be harder for her?
I thought she was like, oh, I was on a skateboard. It was like, but the guy's skateboard was from like Target, and I'm like, got it. That's not that skateboard doesn't even go anywhere. It's just whatever.
But she still preferred biking to the skateboard.
Well, she also wants a road bike.
Nice. Now it's. Yeah. I mean, it's a good thing, but yeah, it's gonna be an expensive thing.
Yeah. Like once she stops growing, we'll see about getting her a new bike. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think this is okay. I mean, it's gonna be a positive for me if my daughter even wants a bike.
Yeah.
That skateboard would be cool. I actually thought about getting a skateboard because I'm really close. I told you where I work, right? So I could skateboard.
I could see you on a longboard.
Yeah, but I was thinking, and you could, and this is gonna be the last thing before we close this out because nobody in the bike world is gonna be interested in this.
Nope.
But is it easy to skate on the road here?
I've never done it. It
might be like a little bit too much friction.
Well, there's these skateboards now that are controlled by electric.
Like the boosted board.
It's like an e-bike.
Casey Neistat kind of thing.
I hate e-bikes.
You hate e-bikes.
I hate e-bikes.
I hate e-bikes too, but boosted boards are not that bad. Is it the same for you? Like you hate?
I don't like e-bikes.
But you don't like boosted boards either?
Boosted boards are okay. Like they're interesting. Like I've seen them and I'm like, that's actually pretty cool.
But here's my question: do you need a boosted board to get around the city, or could you get around the city?
Flat. You don't need it.
So a regular skateboard rolls perfectly fine over the streets of Chicago.
I cannot answer that question. I've never ridden a skateboard on the streets of Chicago.
I'm just wondering if I'm gonna be like pushing and like.
I feel like with the potholes that I see on my bike, I don't know if I want to.
Yeah, I've abandoned that idea, but and I wanted to get a Target skateboard and just roll over to work.
Why don't you just throw money in the lake?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not getting a commuter bike either. I'm gonna get a better mountain bike.
Yeah.
And
a Yeti.
I'm thinking about getting a 27 plus hardtail.
Okay. Smart.
Titanium. Not smart.
That's
No.
expensive.
And this will be my do everything, or a 29. There's a 29er Kona Hanzo Titanium that I think could do everything. I think
You sure you want 29?
Well, that's the thing. I think it's good like for the lakefront and like doing long distance.
Yeah, 29 is great for distance, but if you're doing downhill stuff,
So I
want like 26 or 27.
Oh yeah, no, I know for sure. But I've actually tested this bike out in Palos, and for
Palos
whatever,
isn't really count.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I don't know where I'm gonna be next, man.
Argentina.
But Argentina?
That'd
Did
be
you say
beautiful.
that?
Yeah.
No. What about like Chile, like next to Santiago,
Oh,
where
yeah.
you can do snowboarding and then go out to the beach in the same day and still have a corporate job downtown?
Perfect.
Yeah, that would be badass. I think there's a few. No, I'm actually. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. This is one of the things I shouldn't say at the podcast. But yeah, I think there's certainly a lot of better places than Chicago to bike. Yeah, that's hard, right? Because the community here is pretty amazing.
Now, Chicago is one of the quote unquote safest cities to bike in, based off of some type of statistic that I saw on the internet somewhere. But
Are you throwing out fake news here?
fake news. No, it's like I want to say DNA Info said something
Okay.
like that. But they don't exist anymore. They actually closed their doors.
DNA Info close their doors?
Yeah,
I didn't know this.
we could talk about this later. It was no, Chicago is great for biking. It's flat. It's a grid. It's not hard to get lost. If you get lost, just know that the lake is going to be
Yeah, you're gonna.
on the east.
Yeah, I like that. No, it's a very easy city
Yeah.
to get around.
Yeah, and the bike lanes have made it great. Like I was out by, I think it was the Southport Brown Line stop. I was coming back from dinner or a movie or something. I don't know what it was, and I see this little stand, like a park, like repair stand next to like the bike racks, and I'm like, man, this city really has their stuff together. And then there was a bike pump that didn't work, and I was like, oh, okay, never mind.
Well, that's pretty cool. I'm glad, and I think we this is ending on a good note, because I'm glad people realize here that it's certainly a very bike friendly city, especially considering its size,
Yeah.
and that you're in the Midwest, and that
Yeah.
people love their cars out here. I mean, there's a lot of bike lanes.
Yeah.
There's the DVs are pretty amazing too. I ride DVs something. Yeah, I know that
Yeah.
this is something that's not very popular in the bike
Yeah.
world, but I love just leaving it
The
there. and
idea,
not
I love the
caring.
idea of divvies.
You just don't like
DV
the
riders,
practical.
I don't like DV riders.
I'm a DV rider, and I get
Well,
trolled all the time. Like people go in
No,
front
I
of
love
me.
some DV riders are fine, but like there's those people that they don't wear helmets. They're all over the place. Like the DV rider on the rode his bike down Lakeshore Drive.
See, okay, let's take a couple of minutes
Yeah.
more to discuss this. Here's one thing that I find interesting. Have you ever heard the when people say that the best camera you could have as a videographer or as a photographer is the one you have on you?
Mm-hmm.
And I think where that goes is that the cool thing is to actually be taking photos and
Mhm.
taking video. It doesn't matter if it's super high quality or
Yeah.
great. You're getting out there.
Yeah.
I tend to think similarly about bikes, and I know this is not popular, but I love to see people out there biking.
Yeah.
It's not a law to wear a helmet.
It is not.
And I know for sure that a lot of people are discouraged because of that. I think once you get into biking for a while, and then you realize, yeah, it's really important to wear a helmet,
Yeah.
and most people will. But I also think it kind of discourages a lot of people from doing it. So I'm happy to see people out there.
Yeah. No, I am too. But just
They're reckless.
Just stay off Lakeshore Drive.
Oh, but wait, nobody rides on Lakeshore Drive.
There was a divvy rider last summer that was on Lakeshore Drive.
Riding
Yes.
on Lakeshore Drive. Okay, I actually feel sorry for that person. I
Yeah.
hope they didn't have a really bad.
No,
they
they
were
didn't.
probably lost.
Yes. But no, on a positive note, I do love what Divi's does, and I appreciate what they're doing. And it's a great deal if you do the math. It's cheaper than taking the CTA. and as long as you bring it back every 30 minutes.
So what? Let's end with this. What are you? What would be the perfect DV program for you?
See, the problem is people don't know. They abuse divvy in a sense. Like, I've seen people ride a divvy bike. He put a divvy bike on a bus.
On the rack of the bus?
On the rack of a bus. I'm like, people.
Okay, so you don't mind the actual divvy
Like, the divvy program is great. It's just people don't know how to use it correctly.
Right, I get it. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Like, divvy was made for commuters. You go to work on a divvy. You park you from home to work. Park it at the divvy station, not at work. You get off work or you go to lunch. Take a divvy to lunch and back. And then you go home. Park the divvy back at home. That's what it was made for. It's not, oh, I'm going to get a divvy for the entire day. I'm like, no.
Right.
That's when you go to, like, the bike shop that has bike rentals and you pay half the price you're going to pay in.
And there's plenty of those in the lakefront.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No. I totally agree with you. I hadn't realized people misuse it. I've been a divvy user in downtown, and I used to do it. I'm certainly glad with them because they got my wife riding.
Yeah.
And we would go out like on weekends before the baby, and have a couple of drinks and then go back on the divvy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad. Well, I think we could certainly end it off with that.
Yeah.
I think Chicago's a pretty awesome city. I'm glad that somebody that spent way much longer time than me here thinks the same. And I'm glad you're contributing to it. Another cyclist of Chicago doing good. Thanks for being on the podcast.
No, thank you.
Let's see if we can make this a regular thing.
No, for sure.
Awesome. And we'll end it with that.
All right.
Done.
Cheers.